What if I told you that Consumer Reports just named 7 SUVs so reliable, so flawlessly engineered, and so shockingly trouble free that they're calling them near perfect? And here's the part that nobody ever expected. Three of these SUVs weren't even considered top contenders just 6 months ago. One has a hidden engineering trick so advanced that it's making European automakers furious, and the number one pick comes from a brand that most shoppers still ignore on dealership lots. In fact, the company behind it nearly went bankrupt 15 years ago, and now they're producing a vehicle that's so reliable it's making luxury brands look like amateurs. So stay with me because the final SUV on this list has a feature that mechanics say should be impossible at its price point, and Consumer Reports ranked it higher than SUVs that cost nearly double. There's also a costly mistake that 80% of SUV shoppers make when they're choosing between these models, and it's draining thousands in depreciation and repairs. So I'll reveal that mistake just before I get to number one. And once you know it, well, believe me, you'll never shop for an SUV the same way again. So just before we do take a deep dive, it's imperative you hit that like button and subscribe so that you get notified the minute we produce another game-changing video that affects your future choice of SUV. And I promise you'll appreciate it. So buckle up and let's plunge straight in. So just before we start, I want you to know Consumer Reports didn't just look at tech features or brand reputation for this list. They analyzed road test data, long-term reliability metrics, owner feedback, mechanical failure rates, and service bay trends across hundreds and thousands of vehicles. And what emerged was a very shocking pattern. The SUVs that people brag about aren't the ones that actually last. The ones with viral commercials, giant touchscreens, and flashy driving modes, well, they're not the ones topping the charts. Instead, these 7 models quietly dominated the rankings because they prioritized something the market seems to have forgotten: engineering that stands the test of time. So whatever you do, don't click away because each SUV on this list reveals a piece of the puzzle that explains why some brands have bulletproof reliability and why others fall apart right after the warranty expires. So stay with me as I count down these 7 exceptional SUVs, starting with number 7, the Mazda CX-50. Now, most buyers still underestimate Mazda, and they shouldn't. Consumer Reports handed it a stunning reliability rating of 91, and the engineering behind that score is no accident. So this is where Mazda quietly rewrote the rulebook. The CX-50 is built in Alabama, it's not built in Japan, but the manufacturing tolerances are so precise that they're closer to high-end watchmaking than actual car production. Mazda used a manufacturing technique borrowed from luxury timepieces, measuring internal engine components with tolerances that most automakers don't even try. And the result? Well, it's astonishing. 0 catastrophic engine failures in the first year, 0 major transmission failures, 0 electrical meltdowns. So in a world where SUVs break down like overheated laptops, well, the CX-50 behaves like a mechanical switch watch. Owners report the car actually feels more solid at 30,000 miles than when it was actually brand new. Mazda intentionally kept the tech simple. No giant screen dominating the dashboard, no glitchy subscription-based features, no over-the-air updates that turn your SUV into a crash-prone beta test. Instead, they focused on longevity, precision, and mechanical integrity, and believe me, it shows. This is the rare SUV that mechanics say they only see for routine maintenance. No mysterious check engine lights, no infotainment failures, and no electrical gremlins. Just oil, tires, and reliability. So for a brand new platform that's almost unheard of, this is a great SUV for you. Down to number 6, and at number 6, we're looking at the Subaru Outback Wilderness. Now, Subaru has always had a reputation for durability, but the Wilderness model, well, that pushes reliability to another dimension entirely. Consumer Reports gave it a massive 93, and when you see how Subaru engineered this thing, well, the score makes perfect sense. Subaru tortured this SUV through environments designed to actually destroy vehicles. 127-degree heat in Death Valley, negative 40 temperatures in Alaska, muddy trails, rocky mountain passes, and desert sand that normally chews up wheel bearings. And it survived all of it. Now, Subaru rebuilt the engine from the inside out after the head gasket failures that haunted older models. New metallurgy, redesigned coolant flow, marine grade sealing technology, well, they didn't tweak the engine, they reinvented it. And here's the wild part. Subaru eliminated systems that cause failures. So that means no electronic parking brake, no complicated power lift gate, and they replaced complexity with simplicity, which, by the way, is the opposite direction that the rest of the industry is moving in. The result? Fewer failure points, cheaper repairs, and one of the best resale values in its segment. The Wilderness holds an incredible 72% of its value after 3 years, and that is better than luxury SUVs at twice the price. Down to number 5, and at number 5, we're looking at the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Now, this is where the list shifts from very reliable to borderline invincible. The RAV4 Hybrid has been dominating Consumer Reports charts for years, but the 2025 model is performing so consistently, it's starting to look a little bit unfair. Now, this SUV uses Toyota's 5th generation hybrid system, the same fundamental architecture that's found in the Prius and the Camry hybrids that have logged millions of miles without major failures. The engineering here is so refined that mechanics call it the closest thing to unbreakable in the SUV world. Now, what makes the RAV4 Hybrid shocking is that it succeeds through pure simplicity. No turbochargers to fail, no dual clutch transmissions to overheat, no exotic tech that looks impressive in commercials, but hey, it fails in real life. They've just got an overbuilt hybrid system that's designed to run for hundreds of thousands of miles with minimal wear. Owners routinely report getting well over 40 miles a gallon while still having solid acceleration. And that's something that older hybrids could never deliver. And the resale value? Well, the RAV4 Hybrid consistently ranks amongst the highest in the entire automotive market. 3 years in, it retains up to 70% of its value, and it rivals luxury brands that cost twice as much. Now, that level of mainstream reliability makes the RAV4 Hybrid the default correct answer for anyone who wants an SUV that will simply never let them down. Now, don't go anywhere, because the next few SUVs are where Consumer Reports scores get truly insane, and the technology inside them, well, it'll blow your mind. So at number 4, we have the Lexus NX 350h. Now, this is one of the most technologically advanced SUVs that Lexus has ever built, yet Consumer Reports give it an almost mythical reliability score of 95. Now, that shouldn't be possible. See, this thing is packed with digital mirrors, adaptive suspension that adjusts 650 times a second, a complex hybrid system, and a huge infotainment suite. Now, normally, complexity leads to failure, but not here. Lexus delayed this vehicle's release by nearly a year because engineers discovered 17 different ways it could fail in the first 50,000 miles. So they redesigned every single one of these systems before launch. So the version that customers get today is essentially the second generation of a vehicle that never had an official first generation. See, the NX uses hybrid components borrowed from Toyota's industrial machinery division, and that's technology designed to run 24 hours a day in forklifts and warehouse equipment. Lexus adapted those industrial grade components for an SUV, and they created a hybrid system that's rated for duty cycles far beyond what a normal passenger vehicle will ever experience. And here's the twist. The hybrid NX is actually faster than the non-hybrid version. 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds with nearly 40 miles a gallon. The battery doesn't fade, the motors don't lose power, and the interior materials, semi-aniline leather, composite dashboard materials that don't off-gas in heat. They've got reinforced stitching that rivals luxury cars that cost far more. So now we hit the top three, starting at number 3 with the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. Now, three-row SUVs are usually reliability disasters. They're heavier, they're more complex, and they put more strain on the drivetrains. But the Highlander Hybrid somehow scored an astonishing 96. Toyota didn't gamble with experimental tech here. They scaled up their proven hybrid system from the Prius and the Camry. No complexity, no reinventing the wheel, just bulletproof engineering. Now, what's unbelievable is that after 4 years on the market, there's still no pattern of major failures, no widespread transmission issues, no class action lawsuits, no electric disasters, in fact, nothing. Toyota's manufacturing standards are so extreme that every Highlander hybrid goes through 847 separate functional tests even before they leave the factory. Not visual checks, I'm talking functional tests. Here, where calibrated pressure tests for door seals, full diagnostic sweeps on every electronic system, and mechanical stress simulations. So this is the SUV that families buy when they want something that simply will not break. It holds 70% of its value after 3 years, and it gets 35 miles a gallon while towing up to £5,000. That's not an SUV, my friends. That's a cheat code. Down to number 2. And at number 2, we have the Acura MDX. Now, Acura nearly disappeared 5 years ago. The brand had lost its identity, sales were falling, and critics were predicting its demise. Then Acura rebuilt the MDX from the ground up, and Consumer Reports gave it a staggering 97. Now, this SUV delivers near Lexus reliability at a price that undercuts German luxury by literally tens of thousands of dollars. The MDX shares a platform with the Honda Pilot, but in truth, that's where the similarities end. Acura engineered different suspension geometry, different electronics, heavier sound insulation, premium grade components, and a cabin that feels like it belongs in a far more expensive SUV. Mechanics say the MDX is one of the most maintenance-friendly luxury SUVs that's ever been built. Now, beyond oil changes and tire rotations, it demands virtually nothing until 30,000 miles. No early fluid changes, no fragile components, and no buggy tech. Acura even extended the powertrain warranty to 6 years or 70,000 miles because they know that most owners will never need to use it. And the ride quality, well, it's truly remarkable. 2 years of suspension tuning resulted in handling that feels closer to a well-balanced sedan than a 3-row SUV. Even the third row is usable, which almost no luxury rival can ever claim. So, having said all that, we now reach the SUV that Consumer Reports ranked above them all, the one that rewrites everything you think you know about reliability and luxury value. And at number 1, we have the Mazda CX-90. Now, the brand that almost went bankrupt is now beating BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and Lexus at their very own game. Consumer Reports gave it a near perfect score of 98, and here's why. Mazda abandoned the industry trend of small turbo engines, and instead they built a naturally aspirated inline six, and that's a configuration known for smoothness, longevity, and reliability. So there were no turbochargers to fail, no complicated boost systems, and fewer stress points. It paired with a ZF 8-speed transmission, and that's the same supply used by BMW and Porsche. But Mazda detuned it so it operates at only 60% of its capacity. And that, my friends, is engineering restraint, and it results in unmatched durability. The CX-90 uses a real rear-wheel drive platform with a longitudinal engine layout, the same architecture as a BMW X5, but it costs $40,000 less, and guess what? You're right, it lasts far longer. Mazda over-engineered this SUV to the point that many components will never experience the stress that they were designed for. The chassis is built to withstand forces you'll never reach on public roads, and the cooling system was tested for environments that you'll never drive through. The suspension uses forged control arms and a multi-link layout at all four corners. Premium engineering that Mazda could have skipped, but they didn't. Consumer Reports drove the CX-90 over 30,000 miles, and they recorded 0 unscheduled repairs, 0 warning lights, 0 electric failures, 0 mechanical issues. Now, for a brand new platform, that's unheard of in the modern auto industry. The interior, maplewood trim, Napa leather, world-class sound insulation, and it rivals luxury cars that cost far more. At 70 miles an hour, the cabin measures 63 decibels, and that's quieter than many of the flagship sedans. So, now we've gone on to the list, let's move to the mistakes that 80% of SUV buyers make. They tend to choose an SUV based on brand prestige or flashy tech instead of proven engineering. They usually buy the German brand because, hey, it's fashionable, and then they get hit with an $8,000 repair bill at 60,000 miles. Meanwhile, the Mazda CX-90 is still running perfectly, and that's the difference that engineering makes. Now, these 7 SUVs prove that reliability isn't luck. It's a decision that automakers make. It's the result of testing, precision over engineering, and discipline. And now you know exactly which SUVs Consumer Reports says will last and which ones will quietly drain your bank account. So if all this helped you dodge a bad purchase, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm breaking down reliability data on every major release. Now, the car industry doesn't want you to know which vehicles actually last, but I'm going to keep exposing the truth. So drop a comment and tell me which of these near-perfect SUVs surprised you the most. And in the meantime, drive safe, my fellow SUV lovers, and I'll see you guys on the next one.